Bemidji is a lakeside town in northern Minnesota. No matter the season or the reason for visiting, visitors feel at home about as much as the locals do, very much embracing the warm and cozy spirit of the Midwest. On this episode of Funeral Potatoes and Wool Mittens, my husband Jason and I reminisce about our weekend of hockey, dining, shopping, and hiking in early October. There's a gourmet hot dog stand, local cafe, of course there's a bakery, and a barbecue restaurant that permeates the scent of smoked meats down the streets of historic downtown. We visit Bemidji's 103-year-old woolen mills, an indie bookstore. We talk about where we walked across the Mississippi River, and we let you in on one of the hidden gems of wilderness area that we found for hiking. To see photos of most everything we discussed today, go to randomsweets.com and search Bemidji, or use the link in the show notes of this episode. You haven't met Jason yet. He's the scrambled egg maker in the household, a master in space management when it comes to moving snow on our 22 acres, and he's the calming voice of reason and patience when I want to throw my computer in the trash and light it on fire. I'm your host, Stacy Mergenthal. Let's hit the road to Bemidji. Okay, we're live.
Hello.
I mean, this is recorded, but I don't know how to edit, so we can't say anything. No swear words now.
I'm good with that.
Okay. It'll be easier for you than it is for me, but I know how to edit, but I don't know how to edit 2 tracks. And now that we're stepping out into the technology of using 2 microphones, this is going to really throw me off, so.
I know you'll figure it out.
I'll figure it out, but I'm glad that you decided to stick around and come down to the basement and record tonight.
Yeah, this is wonderful.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to talk about our trip to Bemidji because I loved it, and I remember before we went, I was looking online to find, of course, like I always do, places to eat, things to do, and so I just thought this would add to the space, if people are searching for things to do, places to eat when they go to Bemidji, Minnesota, that this would just be another idea for them for things to do.
Right. I mean, I came across Bemidji because I wanted to see some hockey games, and my alma mater was playing there against the Bemidji State University. And
who's your alma mater? Arizona
State. And so we went up there for a couple of exhibition games early in the season in October, and I've been to Bemidji a couple times through work and found it a really interesting and neat town in northern Minnesota.
Right. And then you had already told me about 2 places to eat, one of which you went to when you were there for work, and then one that you smelled when you were there. And so I said, I'll add it to our list. Yeah. And then we made sure that we went there.
Anybody who's been downtown, will know what place I'm talking about because the air is permeated with their smoke.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it was the beginning of October that we went, and we were lucky because this year, it was in 2022, so, but we heard that the trees, the colors were just optimal and haven't been like that in
peak fall, yep,
many years, that they were so vibrant, and I personally have not seen that before. I mean, we have colored trees around here in southern Minnesota, but nothing like in northern Minnesota, so I thought it was really pretty.
Yes.
And they have trees there that we don't down here, like white spruce, aspen. We don't have much for birch. I don't remember what some of the other ones were, but it was really pretty.
Yes, they have a lot of trees. We have a lot of telephone poles.
Okay, so we got that covered. And wind towers. We have a lot of wind towers.
Yes.
Yeah. So not only can I probably not edit this podcast, so you guys are going to get it just the way we talked about it
raw
in our basement, but you might hear some paper rustling because I made a few notes so that we're not going into this completely blind, but I'll try to keep it to a minimum. So first, I wanted to make sure that we said where we stayed because I really liked that resort and I would go back in the summer. I think it'd be really fun.
Yeah. Ruttger's. resorts used to be a huge thing when I was growing up. Everybody went to a lake and, spent a week fishing, swimming, boating, whatever. Ruttger's
that was Birchmont, I think. Rutgers Birchmont Lodge.
Right. Ruttger's, they had a whole chain of resorts up in northern Minnesota for a while. And we had one near where I grew up that we always visited to go swimming and launch our boat and do all kinds of stuff there.
And get in trouble on your jet skis probably with your dad and Ryan.
Yeah, no, that was later on. But
where did you grow up?
Deerwood, Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we stayed at Rutgers Birchmont Lodge, and it's on Bemidji Lake. And the place is really cool. They built a new lodge where you can stay. Was it just last year or a couple years ago? I don't remember. Do you remember?
No, I don't.
But that was the really, really nice place where you walk in, you check in. It has huge area to overlook the lake. You can sit in all these big comfy chairs by the fireplace. A restaurant. There's a bar.
A big patio that extends out to the lake. Sandy beach.
And then the little cabins and cottages. I don't know what they call them, cabins or cottages that you can rent right on the lake. Mm-hmm. And then next door to the pretty new lodge is the older lodge that was built after the first one burned down in the early 1900s, I think. Then they built this one, and it's very rustic, but it's cheaper, and so that's the one that we stayed in.
Very, very 80s.
Yeah. And then there's a swimming pool and a sauna in a different building that you walk to. Mm-hmm. And then, do you remember the dog, Reggie? They have like a house dog.
Right. I think it was a white, a golden retriever.
Golden retriever.
Yep.
He was really sweet. Anyway, I would stay there again. Oh,
yeah. I had a really nice time. And they were really great there.
Yep. And then we went downtown that first night, right? To go to the place that you had smelled.
The barbecue place, yes.
Fozzie's. Mm-hmm. And they have another location, but I don't remember where it is in Minnesota.
I don't recall either, but I know that location sits right downtown, just off the lake, and it's really cool.
You remember how much food they gave us?
It was a lot. I had no idea how big their servings were, but I was definitely full.
Yeah, so I wrote down here, I have notes.
Okay.
And we ordered appetizers. We had bacon, mac and cheese, egg rolls.
Oh, yep.
Remember those?
Mm-hmm.
And then we both ordered a chimichanga. Now, I have pictures, so I can share those on my blog.
Right.
Do you remember how big those chimichangas were?
Yeah, because everything comes in like a burrito. Right? Everything's...
No, I don't think everything is, but... Oh. No, I don't think everything's in a burrito. That was just a whole section. But we had these chimichangas. I wrote down that they were large enough for 3 or 4 meals because I was stuffed and I could only barely eat half of mine. Mm-hmm. And it had beans, mac and cheese, chicken. I had chicken in mine. That was a smoked chicken, and you had brisket. And they were deep fried, smothered with house cheese sauce and pico. And then we also ordered potato salad and coleslaw. That were really good.
Right.
But large portions, really good food. And then their cheesecake, they have somebody, I think it's called the Ugly Cheesecake or Ugly Cheesecake, somewhere outside Bemidji. It's another town that makes their cheesecake. And I ordered a piece of pistachio and chocolate, I think, to go because I was too full. I couldn't eat it. And I put it in the refrigerator in the hotel room, and I ended up forgetting it there after we left for the weekend, so I never did try it.
Oh, no.
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah. No, we left with it still in the refrigerator.
Oh, we had so many places that we sampled and went to. I mean, it was hard to, finish everything. And
yeah. We tried to squeeze a lot in. We got there Friday afternoon, went to the Paul Bunyan Park and saw, of course, traditional Paul Bunyan and the Blue Ox at the park there by the lake. had Fozzie's to eat for supper.
Mm-hmm.
But we tried eating a lot of food within 3 days, so we couldn't eat everything everywhere we went.
Right. Well, so that Fozzie's, say they're, is that how you found out about Raphael's bakery?
No.
Or you knew about that prior?
No, so then on Saturday morning, we went to Raphael's Bakery and Cafe, and that's downtown in a historic building, a really kitschy kind of place. But I heard about Raphael's Bakery because on one of our next stops, Lucky Dogs, the gourmet hot dog place that you did eat at once before, on their website, they say that their hot dog buns are homemade at Raphael's Bakery.
Oh, okay.
And so then I looked further into Raphael's, found out they're this whole little cafe and bakery, so we went there on Saturday morning. And there was a line. We had to wait a couple minutes. I think we got a table pretty quick, but there ended up being a waiting list for people to come in. The place was full for the cafe, and the bakery was busy, and they had a lot of bakery cases.
Oh, yeah, very busy. We were, come in there right in the morning and very lucky to get a table.
Mm-hmm. And we knew we were going to have a lot of other places to go that day too, but in eating, so we didn't do a big breakfast, but I think I just did like hash browns and ham. We each had coffee. You had, I think, some sausage. Oh, you had cinnamon roll.
I think they serve Folgers there.
Yeah. We went to Caribou Coffee.
Typical Norwegian coffee.
We went to Caribou Coffee afterward before we went out on our hike, but you had cinnamon roll French toast. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do now.
Or cinnamon French toast.
Yes.
I guess.
Yep.
And then we stood in line at the bakery and got a couple of donuts. I don't know if you got any. You don't always go for those sweets like I do. But I know for sure I had a honeymooner, which is one of my favorite things, at a donut shop. It's a big glazed donut. Then it's usually, I pick the ones that are frosted with chocolate, and then they have white cream right in the center. It's called the honeymooner. But they called it a whipped honeymooner. I think it was just because of the whipped cream center. I don't think they were being naughty. Okay, so we had that breakfast, and so then remember where we went? The Woolen Mills, the Bemidji Woolen Mill. After that.
Okay, yep. Yeah, we checked out to see what kind of stores they had, walked around their downtown, and then we came across the Faribault Woolen Mill, or not Faribault, but Bemidji Woolen Mills. Right.
And so the president and owner, fourth generation, I'm trying to think of what his name was. I wrote it down somewhere. Can't find it at the moment. Bill Batchelder.
Okay, yes. I know he's a former hockey player for Bemidji State, and I had an ASU sweatshirt on and knew I was there for the hockey games, and so we talked and chatted for a bit. And he ended up knowing and being a friend and I think a roommate with Joel Otto, who was a high school hockey player from where I graduated in Elk River, Minnesota, who ended up playing at Bemidji and then went on to the NHL, and kind of a small world there. So,
Yeah, we were in there for probably an hour and a half at least. You guys talked quite a bit, a couple different times as you were about the store, and but that was a really cool place. So we have some blankets and things from Faribault Woolen Mill and Faribault.
I got a really, really nice shirt, wool shirt. I love that.
And a blanket. But the funny thing is we were trying to buy things that were made there at that woolen mill, so that shirt is one of them.
Right.
And then we got this beautiful blanket, blanket.
Which I thought was made, but it resembles another woolen mill that is in Minnesota, the Faribault Woolen Mill, which turns out that this blanket was actually theirs.
Actually made there. So, yeah. But we like that mill too, and we've been to both, and I've actually toured the Faribault Woolen Mill. Kalani and I did one time when Sajin was at hockey camp in at Shattuck. And that was pretty neat. So yeah, we spent quite a bit of time there. I'd recommend going there. They have both men's and women's clothing and blankets, and there's a little yarn think a little yarn, a corner, a little space back there that I thought Margaret, my stepmom, would really like because it had all kinds of yarn. And
In Faribault.
No.
Oh, in Bemidji.
In Bemidji.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, at the Bemidji Woolen Mill.
Yep.
Yep. So we left there, and maybe that's when we went to Caribou, I think, before we hit the road. And then we just went to go drive around. Mm-hmm. So we head south out of town.
Well, you were looking for like trees and stuff to take some pictures of, and you wanted to find some birches and some colorful trees to get some outdoor pictures, and so we ended up just driving around looking for woods and
out of town. But did we go south out of town?
We went south out of town, and I don't know, seen some sign for some golf course, and said, oh, let's check that out. And ended up getting lost, missing the turn entirely, but found a place for you to take some pictures.
Yes, we did, down somebody's gravel road.
Right.
And so then we turned around, still couldn't find the golf course that we thought that we did see. We weren't lost. I mean, we knew where we were.
Well, I was looking on the Google Maps, and I'm like, oh, there's this lake this way, and so I want to go check it out. And so we headed towards this lake south and west of town, and that's where we came across that reserve.
Yeah, so that place is called Neilson Spearhead Center. It's on Spearhead Lake.
Okay.
We were driving down this road, a gravel road, pretty narrow. I mean...
it's really narrow entrance, and it looks like it's not really that well maintained, or,
We weren't sure if we were supposed to be down there. Basically, we're like, is this, like, where are we going? Are we supposed to be here? But then every once in a while, don't we see kind of a sign about the Spearhead, the nature place or something? And so we kept going until we came up to this.
Right. So leave all the wood you find there.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think you're supposed to take any of the cool birch that's fallen onto the forest floor back home with you.
Right.
I think.
Yes, it's there to disintegrate in nature's way.
Give back to nature. Mm-hmm. Moving on, we got up to closer to the lake, and then we saw this house that was, we saw the smoke pipe coming from its like fireplace. Was it not really an underground? What do they call those?
Well, it's an earthen home. Yeah, and they had like one little area, that's facing the southwest towards part of the lake, and the rest was buried essentially, and that turned out to be a caretaker's house for this preserve.
Right. And there was nobody there. So when we pulled up, we pulled up to sort of there's a parking area and signage, so this is where people come. There was no cars, nobody there.
Oh.
So quiet. It was a beautiful day.
Right. And the fall colors, no wind, it wasn't chilly, it wasn't hot, it was just super.
So we hiked down to the lake and back up around a different way. We looked at whatever the nature center, the actual little center is, where they come in and do projects and things. And there was another building down below that we went to. They called it the Jeep building.
Oh, yep.
Because
they used to have Jeeps and different things out there.
Well, the caretaker lady, the wife, she walked up and talked to us for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think what we learned is that this Neilson area, this Neilson was one of the 3M, the founders of 3M.
Oh, that's right.
That had all of this property, and then something about when he died and stuff, and then things went to his daughter, and his daughter wanted to make sure it all got preserved. And
well, it used to be a heavily logged area, and so he bought up the land to like regrow the big cedars and everything that had been taken off the land and preserve it. And I think didn't they say at one time he owned like the whole entire lake and all the property around it? But yeah,
it was a lot. So the place is really neat. But yeah, so there's some old buildings, and then so you talk to her for a little bit, and if you have to use the bathroom there's an outhouse, which people who know me know that's just not my thing. But
however,
I went down there, and that lady said that she had redone it this year and repainted and everything, and it was is so spotless. I was like, that's the cleanest outhouse I've ever been in. And I'm telling you.
Cleaner than a Quick Trip bathroom.
Yeah, cleaner than most gas stations I've been to. Yeah, I remember that. But I wrote in my journal that was probably my favorite part of the trip, was going to that nature area and hiking and just taking it all in with no people around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great day.
Yep. That we accidentally came across. And so, but those caretakers, they were going to be moving, I think, within the next, wasn't it by the end of that year? So now they're probably gone, and might be a new caretaker in. It sounds like they might have been making some adjustments to the organization of the park. I don't really know.
Right.
So hopefully it's still available and open to the public as we're talking about this, because I would highly recommend people to go there, because it's not that far out of Bemidji.
It's a real gem.
Yep. Just like you. So we went back to town then, and we were hungry by then. It's afternoon, and that's when we went to the
Lucky Dogs
gourmet hot dogs.
Yes, every town should have one of these little stores. It's, I don't know, it's no bigger than a kiosk really, but it's indoor and outdoor seating, and it's great.
Well, indoor, there weren't many tables indoor.
No, but
and they're open seasonally, right? Don't they close part of the year?
They close for the winter, yep.
For the winter? Okay. But lots of seating outside.
Mm-hmm.
And it's an old service station building that they redid. But
they only got like part of it. I mean, they only got like 10 feet.
Okay.
So there isn't much in there. It's a kitchen, a few stools, a bathroom, and then outdoors is where all the picnic tables are set up to eat outside. But they got a list of, I don't know, 200 different types of hot dogs you can get?
It seems like 200, but it's not 200.
Oh, okay.
I looked at the menu just a little while ago.
Oh, so 100?
I don't even think it's that many, but
it's a lot.
It is a lot.
You can stand there for 10 minutes and figure out, oh, boy.
At least.
Yeah.
And when you know that you're only going to be there once, right? Maybe. And you can't eat a whole bunch of hot dogs. And these are pretty good size. They're Nathan's 100% beef hot dogs. But they're not small.
Nope.
You really can't have more than one. So you have to narrow down.
Mm-hmm. The Maverick is the best, though. That's the one with the mac and cheese on it and hot sauce.
Okay. That's what you had.
Yeah.
I had the Route 66 with chili and ranch dressing and Fritos corn chips.
Mm.
So I would order that one again, but when I looked at the menu earlier, I think I was like, oh, they have one on there. I can't remember what it was called. But it has taco meat and...
they do all kinds of crazy things there. Mm-hmm. Not like gross stuff, but unusual stuff for a hot dog.
Right. I mean, one of the unusual things that wasn't so out of the world was... they have some that have peanut butter on them, which they're doing peanut butter burgers at places all the time. So that's really not that unusual. But I found what I was going to get next time would be the gear grinder. Has taco meat, bacon, pepperoni, onion, and grinder sauce. And I don't know what the grinder sauce is, but I thought that was interesting because there's taco meat and pepperoni. Mm-hmm. So, but I think we had potato salad and coleslaw.
Yeah.
We tried some other things too. Sat outside. It was beautiful. Yeah. So that's the place that you'd already been to once. And we had to go back.
Yes.
Okay, so that was on Saturday afternoon. The game was the next game. I mean, that was because we'd already gone to one.
So
Friday
doubleheader, yep.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
And Bemidji State won that game. It was in overtime.
On Saturday night.
It was a thriller, 5-4. But very, very good hockey.
Right, but back up because we went to, I think it's called Four Pines. It's an independent bookstore.
Okay.
And so that was kind of fun. That's where you got a couple books, reading books for your niece, Ashton, about hunting, I think.
Right.
But I like independent bookstores, and it's fun to look around. Of course, I asked for a community cookbook. Remember that?
Oh, right.
and was like, do you know anywhere I could get a community cookbook? And she just...
That's where I got the hockey tournament book, too, on Minnesota State hockey.
Oh, that's right. Yep. Yeah.
Called Tourney Time.
Tourney Time.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we went to the game, but before we went to the hockey game that night, we already had talked about Mexican for supper.
Oh, yes. We had another restaurant, and thank goodness the game started early. The fact that it went to overtime, made it very tight to get to this Mexican place before they closed, but we raced there and...
Mi Rancho, I think is what it's called.
Okay. I was just up there last week and drove by it and drove right down the street where it was located. But, yeah,
okay.
I was thinking, oh, boy, that's good, but I don't have time to stop today.
Yeah, they were kind of getting ready to, I don't know, they were probably 30 minutes from closing that night, but they were really nice and the food was wonderful. You couldn't tell that they were closing. I mean, it didn't affect our experience.
Everything was still perfect, fresh. Yep.
Yeah, I got some kind of a combo meal that had enchilada, taco, tamale. You're thinking you had a carnita burrito or something?
Carne asada burrito, probably.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was really good. We'd recommend to go there. That's Mi Rancho, and that's on the north side of town. Wasn't that when we headed out, like, toward our hotel? It was on that side of town.
Yes.
In a new building. And then we still had one more place left that we had to eat. Not that day on Saturday, but on Sunday, because when I had done the research looking at different places, I heard of this Minnesota Nice Cafe. And so I was hoping that we would make it to there. But we knew we wanted to get out of town early on Sunday to head home because it was, 5-hour drive at least home?
Well, we also went to church that morning.
Well, plus we wanted to go to Itasca State Park because Betsy had recommended that. So we went to 7:30 church. And
it was raining.
Yep.
It's awesome.
And then we went to the Minnesota Nice Cafe.
Yep.
And the food was really good. Except you ordered grits and you didn't like them. You remember the grits? I don't know why you ordered grits, but...
I don't know. I like grits, but I only like them when they come from traditional places like down south where they make grits all the time. Mm-hmm. They just, I don't know, softer and tastier for some reason.
Mm-hmm. And then, Minnesota's not really the place you would think you'd get down-home grits unless it's a bunch of Southerners that own it.
But, they had it on their menu, so I figured I'd try it.
Right. So there was a waiting line. The place was packed, so we kind of knew it must be good because it's early on a Sunday morning and there's a waiting list. Mm-hmm. So we waited not too long. We got a table.
Oh, yeah, that's when I saw that guy with the Shorzy jersey.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah. I sent the picture to my brother.
Ryan.
Yeah, who ended up ordering himself one.
What's Shorzy jersey?
Shorzy's a character from a show called Letterkenny. It's
I know that.
Canadian.
The show that I roll my eyes and I'm like, I'm not watching this right now.
Right. Canadian humor.
All right. Well, we both ordered the breakfast sandwich at the Minnesota Nice Cafe. And it was on Texas toast, scrambled eggs, American and Swiss cheese, and bacon. And then it was really good. And we wondered if that bread was made at Raphael's bakery.
Was it?
I don't know.
Oh.
We didn't ask or anything, but
it
was a really good Texas toast. Maybe it wasn't, but it was a good sandwich. And then we both ordered a side of, I don't know what it was called, potato casserole. And so I had asked the guy, because I thought maybe it was cheesy hash browns or funeral potatoes that I call it. And the way he described it was, and so we both ordered it, and that was really good. So basically they had funeral potatoes as a side dish at the Minnesota Nice Cafe. So I thought that was pretty perfect.
Yeah. And it was good.
It was really good. And then we split an order of biscuits and gravy, and that was huge. So we didn't even finish that.
I was definitely stuffed.
Right. Yeah, I mean that it was it was the kind of old cafe where they would bring your coffee to the table like in a carafe. So you had your own carafe to refill your coffee. And for people that know me, I check out the salt and pepper shakers at restaurants to see how how clean they are, because it kind of gives me an idea of how clean they keep everything at the restaurant. And they were squeaky clean, so I was pretty happy. But yeah, then we left there and headed toward Itasca. I don't know how far that is away.
30 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, 30, 45 minutes. But big park. Headwaters of the Mississippi start there. They got a museum, gift shops. Bought a whole bunch of trappings from Itasca State Park saying that we were there. The only thing I didn't get was like, I don't know, a poster.
A poster from the state park.
I'm sure we got coffee mugs,
No.
and I know I got hats and magnets. And
You got a really cool hat and a cool t-shirt, I think.
oh, yeah. Yep, I did.
But what I got, I really like too, and I think it's so neat. They're the flour sack towels.
Yes.
And they have the embroidery on them, but they're embroidered with, it says Itasca State Park, and it has little scenes like you would see at the park.
Like little otters playing or something.
Well, I don't remember if there's otters. I have one with, which should be beavers, right? Because they're the Bemidji beaver.
Right.
One has like a little canoe by a cabin and a little fire burning and some s'more sticks or something.
Oh.
One has maybe a black bear, which
But they're
You
cool
wanted to
because
see-
they're like the flour sack towels that your grandma makes.
exactly. And so the only flour sack towels I've ever had are the ones that my grandma Janet made. And I have some stuck away that I won't use because she's not around anymore. And I'm afraid to use them and then not have any good ones left. So it was kind of fun to buy. I think we bought 4 different ones there, and I've been using them ever since.
Awesome.
So we got some good merch.
Yep.
And that was at that visitor center that's open all year long, Jacob V. Brower. And that's where they had cool interactive, like you could learn about the park and how everything was.
The entire history of like the work core program that they had, where people came up and actually like created the whole park. And yep.
Yep, and that's open all year around. But then there's some other, like a lodge or something that has a restaurant that I'd like to go back to, but they weren't open because they're seasonal. And that's the Douglas Lodge. And then the Mary Gibbs Mississippi Headwaters Center. I don't think that the center is open in the winter, but you can go and walk. There's a cam. I saw it today. I went and looked, and there's a live cam where you can look right where we walked over the river.
The boulders and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And there's snow, but the water's still running a little. You could still walk over the rocks.
Excellent.
Yep. But yeah, then the walk out of there, we didn't walk out of there. The drive, we took the scenic route. And we still didn't see any black bears.
No, didn't see any wildlife. Maybe saw a crow.
Maybe a few birds.
No rabbits. No deer.
No.
No lynx. No cougars. No bears.
No, we chuckled
No
because
moose.
we got home that night and there were a bunch of deer standing in our driveway. Of course, we live out in the country on an acreage in southern Minnesota. And so we laughed that we saw more wildlife when we got home in our own yard. So I don't know if it was the time of year. You'd think they were walking around. It was the middle of the day, but I don't know.
It was a good trip.
It was a great trip.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would go back in the summertime and do some fun things where we can actually be on the lake. Stay at Ruttger's Birchmont again. And I don't know, were there restaurants that we didn't, I think we covered all of them that I had wanted to when we got there.
Yeah.
The one that I said, I don't know if we'll have time, if we'll make it then to that Minnesota Nice Cafe, and then we made it work. I'm not sure where else we would go.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'd go back to the same places that we went to. So
Definitely.
good. Well, that kind of covers our trip, I think. Hopefully it gives people a starting point if they go there for anything, a few places to try. And just remember that the hot dog place, I think, is seasonal.
Lucky Dogs.
The Lucky Dogs is seasonal, I think. And some of the centers at the Itasca is not open, but otherwise I think every place. And then Fozzie's, you have to look it online, but they have the place in Bemidji, and then they do have another place in Minnesota. So if you want to check out what other town Fozzie's barbecue, they have fantastic smoked meats and things. I follow them on social media, and everything always looks really good. But it's a 5-hour drive. We're not going to just buzz back up there for supper. So, all right. Well, I think we're done with today, and I think we got it without any swearing or anything.
It was good.
Good. Well, will you come back and talk about smoking Cheez-Its and pork roast?
Yes. And we can talk about another trip, too.
What trip?
I don't know.
Oh.
We got a trip we're taking next week. And
that's right. We've been to a few other places.
Yeah, other trips we could talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually try to take notes when I come back just because I forget those things. You always think you'll remember it. And like I said, before we went, I asked people, too, do you have recommendations for Bemidji? And I didn't get anything from anyone. And so luckily you had a starting place with Fozzie's and the Lucky Dogs. And then just kind of searching, we found some other places. And they all turned out really good because that's not always the case when you try something new.
Right.
So I always worry about that. But we really lucked out. So hopefully you guys find something good and are able to visit Bemidji sometime. And you, my husband, will come back and talk about smoking Cheez-Its and pork roast.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome, honey.